Guys, welcome to Horology Biology. If you're a new member to this channel, I'm of course super happy that you're here. Well done for finding me. You are in for an absolute treat. And of course, if you're a returning subscriber, you know exactly how I roll. You know exactly how I moan. And I'm back. Second video this month. Now, I've been receiving a lot of emails over the last few weeks. Papi HB, when's the next video? When are you going to drop the next one? Guys, you don't understand how busy I am. You don't understand how long these videos take, and I hate editing. I used to like it in the beginning, but not no more. No, sir. I really, really don't. It actually find it so graded that I feel like I need to hire like a special, like video editing midget or something, you know, just to basically take care of my editing situation. Anyway, without further ado, what have I got today? I got a Tissot Seastar Navigator chronograph from the early 1970s with the infamous Valjoux 7734 inside. Now, I sniped this on eBay at the last minute. Super sneaky, I might add. I swooped in within the last 10 seconds, put in my sneaky ass bid, and I won. And this is exactly what I've got today. Case, mashed, crystal, wrecked. Dial looking super juicy though, I might add. Movement not running, but I thought it's worth it for the money that I paid. As you can also see as well, really, really strange as well that some of the lume plots were actually missing off of the dial. So I actually think this watch must have just been dropped at some point. But guys, look at the dial. It is so, so nice. Beautiful, beautiful silver looking dial. This watch, they also made them with black dials and white dials, but I find this gray kind of silver kind of contrast one is like really, really juicy. And you don't see these ones as often. So this is also another reason why I jumped on this and I thought, I got to do a full restoration kind of job on this. So I'm going to fully strip this watch down. I'm going to clean everything. I'm going to relume this. I'm going to repaint the hands. I'm going to redo the case. And by the end of this video, this is going to be a seriously juicy looking presentable watch that anybody could rock in 2025 and look mad fresh. Like even your mama would be turning around and saying, damn, that watch look good. I need that in my life. So what were the main issues with this watch when I first got it then? Okay, first thing was, as you just saw, the date mechanism was not turning over. What I actually did was I just gave it a little nudge once the movement was out of the case. And I think it was just gunked up because it started working perfectly, as you just saw. That was cool. Now, the second issue as well, what I noticed was when I first opened up the movement was the entire chronograph lever for starting the chronograph was completely missing from the watch. I actually had one. I popped it in. I put a screw in because I didn't have the original screw for it. And yeah, it worked in principle, but obviously the watch is not working. So I need to figure out why it's not working. Personally, I just think it's gunked up and it just needs a good service, and that's all it is. So here we are. So as the movement's completely out of the case, what I need to do now is I need to remove the pushers, and of course I need to remove the crown tube. Now, these pushers have actually got like a little C-clip, as you can see, which I don't like the C-clips ones, man. I much prefer a simple screw where you unscrew it from the inside and you just simply pop it out. It's just so much easier. The C-clips, they're fiddly. They just drive me insane. You have to just mess around with them, and then half the time you lose the damn C-clip, and it's just an absolute pain in the ass. So yeah, bad designing as far as I'm concerned. A simple screw would just make life so much easier. Next, I need to remove this fixed outer bezel that's on it, or this tacky ring, we could call it. And I'm just simply just prying that out from the inside with a screwdriver, taking my time working around it so that it comes out nice and easy, which it did. And of course, the crystal off as well. And that leads me now to, obviously, I can now tackle this movement and completely strip it down. Now, also, while I was watching this video back as well, I think I should also do a prize. How many different outfits is HB wearing during this video? Because there's quite a few. It was done over a few days, and that also puts things into perspective of how long it actually takes to restore a full watch back to how it should look. That's the thing. So you'll see me wearing different t-shirts, different hoodies, you know, nothing too weird, so don't freak out. But yeah, it was done over quite a few different days. So once I've removed the balance from the movement, I want to start tackling the tension springs that are basically for the chronograph. And the reason I do that is, obviously, as you're removing parts, the last thing you want is for these things to be under tension. So I always advise this to you guys. Make sure that you loosen and free up your springs first before you start tackling other stuff. It's really, really important, because if you don't, your parts are going to just fly across the room, and then you're going to be on your hands and knees with a black light or a magnet or God knows what. And that's just not good. No, sir, it's not. It's not good for your knees, and it doesn't even look sexy either. So really, guys, don't do it. So I'm breaking down the chronograph parts for the watch, taking off the coupling, And of course, I've taken off the springs, now taking off the bridge for the chronograph runners. You've got the minute one and you got the seconds one. Giving them a quick inspection as I go. Also, after goes the little friction spring. And then I can remove the runner for the minutes. Also put in screws back as well where I find them. I always say this on my videos, guys, and listen to me when I say this. Especially when you're working on chronograph movements, there are a hell of a lot of screws, and they are all different sizes, thicknesses, and they look really, really similar when they're lying all next to each other. And I guarantee you, if you do not put them back where they are and you just lay them all out, you are not going to remember which one goes to which. It's really, really not going to happen like that. So to save yourself the headache, put the screws back where you basically found them. So I just removed tension from the watch because this watch was fully wound up, even though it wasn't running, so I couldn't put any more wind into it. And the problem I had there was I couldn't, because it was so tight, I couldn't move the click over anymore to dewind the watch. So I had to do it manually by removing the click and then putting a screwdriver on top of the ratchet wheel and then dewinding it with my hand and also the screwdriver from the ratchet wheel. Taking the pallets off as well. And then I'm basically just left to some inspection. And I actually just noticed something. Did you see that? There is a big ass monster sized screw stuck in the train of wheels. And the question is why? And also the question is, what exactly is that screw? Because I'm a little bit confused about that. So off goes the bridge, which holds the escape wheel in place. And then I can tackle this monster-sized bridge, which will hold the center wheel and also the barrel as well. And I have to say, as you can see as well, the movement is actually in really, really nice condition. I don't even think this has been serviced before. And there it is. That's obviously why it's not working, that monster-sized ass screw. And what I found out was that screw is actually the screw for the chronograph lever, for the reset, for starting the chronograph. That lever that was completely missing and the screw was missing, that was the screw for that, which I'm really happy about as well, because now I've got the correct screw for it, which I didn't before. But it makes you think, first of all, why was that lever even missing? Secondly, that size of that monster-ass screw, how did that even get in there? And yeah, I mean, these are just the joys of working on vintage watches. You're never going to get the answers to your questions, but it does make you think, like, how the hell did that even get in there? It's weird. So check this out, yeah. Last week I was driving home from the gym, and for part of it I have to hit the highway purely because it's easier and it's quicker. But it was not quicker on this day. Traffic was not good. It really wasn't. One of those slow-moving kind of crawling ones. You know, the one where you keep on bouncing between first and second gear and it's just super irritating if you got a manual, which I unfortunately do. Anyway, the car in front, I can clearly see this Jeb through my window, yeah, constantly looking down at their phone, looking at the phone, looking at the road, looking at the phone. So I pulled back a little bit. And then, of course, it happened. They ended up plowing into the car in front of them, which, of course, stopped the whole line of traffic. My ass is now stuck behind said Jeb, who was looking at phone, who's then getting out of the car, arguing with the person in front of them. And the thing that pissed me off the most about it is that now I am stuck for 5 minutes just trying to get out of this situation so I can move on with my life to my next appointment, yeah? Oh man, I never understand that, yeah? Guys, seriously, if you have a phone and you're driving, don't look at your phone while you're driving. There's reasons for it. Please, there's CarPlay nowadays. You've got stuff like this. There's not even a reason for it anymore. Okay, back to the watch. So we have fully stripped down this watch. We've disassembled the case. Everything's good to go and it's going to be clean. So what am I doing now? I'm going to remove this dirty ass old Lume from these Lume plots. And I really like these ones because they're really deep. And I know when I'm going to relume this, it's going to look super, super nice, mad fresh. Because those wells, like you can see, look how deep they are, guys. You know, I can get a really decent amount of Lume in there and make it look really, really nice. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Here's a tip for you as well. When you're removing Lume from a dial, use an old oiler, but make sure it's one of those really rigid ones. Don't use one of those flexy kind of oilers because you're going to just spray the luminous material everywhere, and you really don't want that. You want to try and keep it as contained as you possibly can. Also, make sure that you wear a respirator as well. That's also something that you should really do. It's really important. You don't want to mess around with this stuff. Certainly, you don't want to ingest it. So yeah, take your time with it and use a really hard old oiler so that you're not going to spring the material all over the place. So now that everything's completely removed and cleaned, and I've polished up those hands as well, hands really nice condition as you can see, I can obviously relume this. And this is the way that I do it to get that old kind of lume look. I use a modern Valjoux lume compound. I use the white one because I don't want any color in it whatsoever. I will add a little bit of Lume's material, and then simply I will add just 2 or 3 drops of the varnish, and I will mix it up into this paste. Now you want to create a nice consistency with this. You don't want it too runny and you don't want it too thick. You want something kind of in between where it's a little bit gluey and it's easy to apply. What I also do is I add a little bit of orange paint, and you can clearly see exactly the small amount that I had to actually add to this. Very, very small amount. Now, the other thing that I also add is I use different modeling compound powders just to add another depth of color to this to make it look older than what it actually is, as you can clearly see now. I've mastered this now over a few years, so it's become like second nature to me, and I really like the pumpkin kind of color that I kind of get from it. Now, using an oiler, you can just stroke this across the back of your hands and simply just easily apply it. It will capillate into the hole and it'll create a nice even finish. Don't be scared to use a little bit too much because it does get smaller as it dries. And worst case scenario is if there is a little bit too thick on the back, you can simply just thin it out. Now, when it comes to the dial, I use an oiler, but I will make sure that I use the smallest oiler possible so that I have maximum control. And this is where you really need a steady hand. Now, this was one of the easiest dials to actually relume, purely because, as you can see, you've got these nice rectangle, huge lume plots, which is more like a well. So I can simply apply the material into there, and I can just push it up into the corners so that it sticks in there. I go around this usually at least twice or sometimes 3 times to build up the thickness as I go. With this one, it actually only took me 2 times because I could be a little bit more generous on what I was applying, purely because, again, like I say, these are more like wells rather than actually just an open area where I'm actually reluming. And look at the color of this. I mean, you got to say it, man. You got to be, come on, guys. You got to be like, oh, damn, HP, that lume looks so juicy. Really, really, really nice with how it looks. Super presentable, super modern, but really looking old. I'm also airbrushing the orange chronograph sweeper because, as you could see in the beginning, it had faded quite a lot and I really felt it needed to be brought back up. So that was also really important to do. Now for the crystal as well, this was really scratched. So I thought to myself, I'm not going to replace it. I don't see any crazing on it and there's certainly not no cracks. So I'm just going to deep sand this back up to its original condition. I started off with a 600 grit and I built it all the way up to 5,000. And then I also used a polywatch cream onto it to really, really buff it up. This is where I'm just using the last stage of it with the 5,000 grit. And then, of course, I'm adding the polywatch to it and then just buffing it up. And you can make these look new. Like if you put the time and the effort into it and a bit of elbow grease, you can really, really make these crystals look brand new at the end of the day. And if you can keep the original one, why would you not? So there we have it, guys. We have got the case fully restored. Super nice shine on it. Brush finished on the top. I also brushed the case back and then polished the sides, as you could see on the lathe. I'm really happy with how it came out. It's not absolutely perfect, but it looks a million times better than exactly what it is. And of course, now we can get on with the rebuild of this watch. In other news, it just happened again today, guys. I got to tell you this, man, because it's getting a little bit weird now. I think my postman has got some kind of weird sixth sense. Like, seriously, no matter what time of day that I do it, yeah, guaranteed. When I'm in the shower and I'm all soaped up, the doorbell goes and it's the postman. And this is really starting to irritate me because this has happened 3 times this week alone. 3 times, not normal. And then I also started to think about it afterwards. Maybe he's also kind of thinking that I'm doing it deliberately so that every time he comes to the door, I'm just all soaped up and I'm wearing a towel and stuff. That's certainly not my intention whatsoever, but I'm kind of seeing it through his opinion as well now. So shit between me and my postman, I've got a little bit awkward right about now, but yeah, kind of is what it is. So the mainspring's been fitted back into the barrel, and of course now I'm tackling these shock jewels, the capstone, making sure that I use some 9010 on each of them. So we got one on the dial side and of course one on the opposite side as well. Making sure that you get a nice little bubble of oil on those and then just fit them back together and put them back onto the balance. So building up the train and obviously the barrel as well, adding the escape wheel. And these are pretty easy movements to work on. Like, I can imagine like when somebody looks at a Valjoux 7733 or a 7734 and they think, whoa, man, that looks a bit daunting. Like, I ain't ready for this. I would say, you know, go for it. They're not that complicated. I mean, once you get past the chronograph mechanism, it is a basic hand winder and it's very basic at that. And even the chronograph parts as well, it's not that complex. There's a lot of big parts, so what I'm trying to say is there's not actually as many parts as what you think. It's very straightforward chronograph in regards to how it operates. Yeah, and I would definitely say if you have one of these or if you pick one up cheap, because they're not that expensive to pick up. They were used in so many so many watches over the years, the 7733. Like, they literally made these things in abundance. So you can actually pick up them quite affordable, you know, maybe even as cheap as like a couple of $100, $250 for a non-big branded watch. And yeah, you could practice on it. So the train's been built up, fitted on the barrel, big barrel bridge, let's say, or the train of wheel bridge, because it's kind of combined into 2. And now I'm just adding in the click spring and I'm adding in the click. Next, of course, we'll follow with the ratchet wheel. A little bit of 1300 there as well, just to lubricate it. And then I can just offer that up to the movement. I'm also holding it down with like a plastic tool just so that I can tighten up that screw a little bit more. And now, of course, we're going to deal with the crown wheel and the crown wheel core. I had a little bit of grease underneath it because it is constantly touching and rubbing on the bridge. And then I'll put in the core, and then that's just held in with those 2 screws. And of course, look, we're wearing a new outfit. It's a new day, so we've got a completely different top on. Seriously, guys, I should have put this down as a competition, like I said, for how many people can say, how many outfits is HB wearing on this video? It's ridiculous. But I did spend the best part of a week on this watch. Not like 8 hours a day, so to speak, but yeah, I mean, I kept going back to it. I would do a certain part of it one day, and then I would go back and do the rest another day. And I think that's also the important thing as well. Don't just burst everything out just in one go, because you're just going to fatigue, and it's better if you just space it out. You're going to enjoy it much more that way as well. So as this channel has been constantly growing with over 30,000 subscribers now, I do have a contest that's going. All you need to do is subscribe to the channel, like the video, and drop a comment, and you could be in with a shot of winning a Valjoux 72 Stingray Roma chronograph from the 1960s. That's been fully serviced by myself. Really, really nice watch, worth around $2,000, and I'm going to give that away to one lucky subscriber at complete random once this channel hits 100,000 subscribers. So the question is, how long is that going to be? Definitely going in the right direction. And of course, I want to give something back, as I always do. I've had numerous giveaways on this channel, you know, so always got to step it up when the numbers increase. So So the timing part of the movement has obviously been put back together now, and I've just offered the balance back to the movement, just making sure that the impulse jewel is just not hitting on the pallets, because sometimes you can overbank it when you're putting it on. I like to just flip it over and it'll just go straight. And the other thing as well is like when you're working on a chronograph, I personally find it really important that you will do the timing part of it one day, get the watch running, and then leave it for at least 24 hours before you start adding the chronograph parts. Now, some people make this mistake and they'll just do it all in one go. And the problem is that, let's say for argument's sake that you did that and then you found out later on that you had a bit of an issue with the train, like maybe, I don't know, there was some play or something and the timing was not running very good, so you need to go back in there and tackle it. Well, then what's going to happen is that you're going to need to remove all of those chronograph parts in order to get to that. And why would you want to do that? So my advice really with working on chronographs, and it doesn't matter what kind of chronograph it is, just build up the watch into a timing part, let it run for at least a day so that you're going to know, you're going to let all the oil settle, you're going to see what kind of amplitude you get in, and then tackle the chronograph side once you are completely happy, because you're just going to waste your time otherwise, and then you're going to get frustrated and you're going to be like, oh, this sucks, HB, what am I doing, man? And you don't need that. No. So give it 24 hours, go back to it, and you'll have a much more enjoyable experience, believe me. So as the movement's being flipped over, we've added the cannon pinion, we've also added the minute wheel and the 2 intermediate wheels. Building up the keyless works now with the yoke spring and the yoke, and I'm also adding a little bit of 1300 just between the spring and the yoke. Also, the setting lever spring's been added. It's quite a chunky one, held in with these 2 screws. And then once I've done that, I also want to make sure that everything's engaging as it should. It's literally just a 2 position on this. So you've got the winding part, and then you just literally pull out the crown once so that you can set the time. There's nothing else on it. It's just a 2-point one. Also added in the date mechanism, the date wheel, also the ring that goes around it and holds it all nice and tidy in place. And then I can just add a little 1300 on these posts, just where the date changing wheel is going to go, and also offering this hour wheel as well. Really simple mechanism as well, and it's really nice when you get them where they're not overcomplicated like this one. Literally just 2 levers. You literally just adding on the plate on top, and then you just adding in that spring as well afterwards, and then that's just going to make it so much easier rather than messing around with overcomplicated date mechanisms. I've seen it on some movements and they're way over the top. I much prefer it when it's really simple like this. You just can't go wrong, as long as you don't lose the spring, of course. Also, once you've added everything on, make sure that it works, because it would kind of suck if it didn't work, wouldn't it? You know, you'd be like, well, what am I doing here, you know? So I will also lubricate it as well, and then I will just be checking just to make sure that everything's fine. So back to the chronograph side now, and I can start building up that. Again, you're going to see, as you saw when I broke it down, there's not that many pieces involved with this. Added the minute runner, and then I've added the friction spring, which just sits below where the seconds runner is going to go. Also making sure that you add in a little bit of 90-10 as well to the hearts. Really a small amount. You really don't need a lot, but just a little bit. And then I can put on the cock as well for that afterwards, held in with that 1 screw. And you can see it as well on that, on the cock of that. It's funny, you know, when these brands, they label this movement as the Tissot 2070, I think it says. It's like, okay, guys, you've literally done nothing, you know, like it's a 7733. You put your name on it and that's it. Like, the other thing as well is when you are building up chronograph parts, especially ones that are spring driven, make sure that you're checking everything as well as you go. It's going to save you a lot of hassle later on down the road. You need to make sure that everything is engaging as it is. And yeah, take as long as you want with that, just to make sure. Another thing as well is if something feels forced, it's definitely wrong. There should be nothing whatsoever that feels forced when you're reinstalling parts on a watch. Everything should be fluid. It should just go super smooth, like no problems whatsoever, like it's meant to be there, because it is meant to be there. So yeah, if you find that something just feels a little bit wrong, or yeah, that doesn't fit in that right, then there's a 99.9% chance that you're doing it wrong. So I added the coupling wheel, which is on that plate, and then I can add that spring, which will just basically engage it when you press the chronograph to start up against the runner. On goes this massive cam, and this is what I mean. It looks quite daunting at first, but when you think about it now, there's really not much left in regards to this. It's like it's a complete in-housed unit, as you can see there, held in with just that one screw, and it just makes life so much easier. Works perfectly. The only thing that I don't like about these cam-driven ones is that when you do press the chronograph button, it's a lot harder than if it is on a column wheel-based chronograph. Column wheel-based chronographs, in my opinion, are so much nicer. They're much more prestige, obviously, but they're more expensive. And I think from a production point of view, they must have been more expensive as well, hence why they went down this road with more cam-operated ones. So adding the first chronograph start lever, held in with that one screw, the screw that we actually found lost in the train of wheels. Like, God knows how it got there. But I'm really happy that we've got it because, yeah, I was using a substitute screw because obviously I was like, well, it's missing and I'm going to have to try and source one of these. And they're not that easy to find. You know, parts are not that bad, but the screws, they can be a little bit challenging to find. So also making sure now that everything is engaging as it should be. Start, stop, reset, etc. And as we can see, everything's working super nice, as it should do. So I'm really happy with that. Checking it jumps over on the minute as well, which it does. So that's the movement pretty much built up. Nothing more to do. All we got to do now is we got to just build up the rest of the watch. So now it's a case of refitting the bezel back to the case and obviously fitting the crystal as well. Now, when I first tackled this, I actually put on the crystal first and then I tried the bezel. And this goes back to what I was saying before about it doesn't feel right. It didn't feel right at all. So I took the crystal back off. Then I put the bezel on and then the crystal went on and it felt a lot more smoother on the press. I was like, I don't want to break anything, not at this stage. And yeah, it went really nice that way. Offering the dial, of course, to the movement. And look at that lume. I'm super happy with how that looks. It just looks so creamy, so nice. Just setting the date as well so that it's going to be for the change at midnight. And then I can put on the hour hand. Just aligning it correctly, and then that's just pressed on with a hand press tool. Same goes for the minute hand as well. And when you're putting your hands on, I mean, obviously I've edited this video, but what I do as well is I'll look at the side. I want to make sure that my hands are not touching in any shape or form. I want to make sure that they're going around in like a fluid motion. On goes the second hand, and then I can put on the chronograph minute hand. And you'll see what I always do with this is I'll use my tweezers as well when I'm pressing it to keep it straight so it can't move around too much. And that's really important, especially with these chronos, because sometimes you'll put the hand on, you'll be like, oh, I've got it on 12, but you'll kind of nudge it a little bit when you're pressing it and it'll reset not at 12. And then you got to remove it and you got to do it again. And that's just a pain in the ass. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. So really take your time with this kind of thing. And this is looking really nice. I'm also doing a full reset from 30 seconds, which is obviously the furthest point. So that's also a really good indicator that it's resetting perfectly as well, because it's the most amount of tension that it's going to need at that point. So the movement's in the case, and I've just popped in the winding stem with the crown. Checking, of course, the functionality of the chronograph. Pushes are already been put back. And then I can put in the 2 screws with the movement clamps to hold everything in place nice and tight. Last but not least, of course, we need to put a new gasket on this one. So I'm just measuring up the inside of the case back. The gasket doesn't go on the movement on these watches. It actually, like some watches, it just goes around the back of the case back. I actually prefer these ones. They're much less fiddly. Just greasing it up, and then I can just put it onto the back of the case back before I screw it onto the watch. And again, new outfit. Check me out. Now we're in a blue t-shirt. This is actually becoming a little bit funny. So just nipping that up with the ball, and I'm just going to tighten that up. So let's check the watch on the Timergrapher. Now this watch hasn't actually been fully regulated to this point because it's too early. I want to do it after a few days. But coming in with a really nice high amplitude, 0 beat error, and those kind of readings, I'm more than happy. And there we have it, guys, the Tissot Seastar Navigator chronograph from the 1970s with the infamous Valjoux 7734 inside. Beautiful watch to work on, really happy with the end results, as I'm sure you guys are going to agree, and I'm sure that somebody in the future, when I finally get rid of this, will thoroughly enjoy this watch for many, many years to come. So guys, if you like this video, hit a like on it, and of course, as always, there's 2 more videos on the screen right now that you can watch, so grab a coffee, sit back in your super nice armchair and relax and watch this goodness, and I, of course, will see you guys in the next one. Until next time.